Do you know what could happen if the world's largest glaciers melted much faster than scientists ever expected? High above us, at the top and bottom of our planet, enormous sheets of ice stretch across the Arctic and Antarctica, quietly holding secrets of Earth's past climate. These frozen lands have existed for thousands, sometimes millions of years, and they are more than just ice. They are a natural shield for our planet, keeping sea levels stable and regulating temperatures across continents. But what if these icy giants are now collapsing faster than anyone predicted? What would that mean for the oceans, for weather patterns, for humanity itself? Today we are going to understand this story in detail. In the frozen corners of our planet, glaciers have been steadily retreating. These massive rivers of ice, some spanning hundreds of kilometers, are ancient witnesses to Earth's history. Scientists studying ice cores have discovered that glaciers hold a record of temperature, carbon dioxide, and even volcanic activity stretching back thousands of years. This archive has helped us understand natural climate cycles and the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. Yet, today, this balance is under unprecedented stress. Temperatures in polar regions are rising more than twice as fast as the global average. As a result, the ice that has survived countless millennia is now thinning, cracking, and disappearing at alarming rates. The consequences of glacier melting are not just local, they ripple across the globe. When glaciers melt, they feed fresh water into the oceans, raising sea levels. A rise of just 1 meter may not sound catastrophic at first, but imagine entire coastal cities submerged, millions displaced, and fertile farmlands turned into saltwater wastelands. Many small island nations are already at risk, with communities watching their homes slowly vanish beneath the waves. The impact is even more severe when we consider the possibility of accelerated melting. If glaciers in Greenland and Antarctica collapse at faster than expected rates, global sea levels could rise several meters within decades, not centuries, completely reshaping coastlines worldwide. Historically, glaciers have always changed. During the last ice age, enormous ice sheets covered much of North America and Europe. When the planet warmed, these glaciers slowly retreated over thousands of years, creating vast lakes and reshaping entire landscapes. This natural process was slow, giving ecosystems and human populations time to adapt. Today, however, human activity is speeding up this process. Burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide and methane, trapping heat in the atmosphere and causing a rapid rise in global temperatures. The result is a melting crisis unlike any seen in human history. One of the most visible signs of this crisis is the dramatic retreat of glaciers in the Arctic. Satellite images over the past 40 years reveal massive ice loss. In Greenland, for example, glaciers that once moved slowly toward the sea are now racing, calving enormous icebergs that float away, carrying ancient freshwater into the Atlantic. This meltwater disrupts ocean currents, which play a critical role in regulating the planet's climate. Scientists warn that if these currents slow down or shift, entire regions could experience extreme weather, harsh winters, deadly heat waves, and unpredictable storms. Communities from Europe to South America may feel the ripple effects of ice melting thousands of kilometers away. Antarctica, though farther from human settlements, is no less critical. Its ice sheet contains more than 60% of the world's fresh water. If even a fraction of this ice were to collapse, sea levels could rise dramatically. Recent studies show that parts of West Antarctica are already in irreversible retreat. Some glaciers are thinning at unprecedented rates, with warm ocean water seeping beneath them and melting their foundations from below. This hidden process is particularly dangerous because it can accelerate the collapse, creating a chain reaction that might take the world by surprise. Beyond numbers and statistics, the human impact is already being felt. Coastal cities like Miami, Jakarta, and Dhaka face frequent flooding. In some regions, farmland is lost to saltwater intrusion, reducing food production and forcing families to relocate. Migrants and refugees from rising seas are increasing tensions in already fragile areas, highlighting how climate change is not just an environmental issue, but a social and political one. Every lost glacier is a warning sign, a signal that the natural systems we depend on are under severe stress. The effects of glacier melting are also linked to extreme weather. When ice disappears, the Earth's surface absorbs more heat, intensifying global warming. This leads to stronger hurricanes, prolonged droughts, and record-breaking heat waves. In polar regions, Melting ice changes local ecosystems, threatening species like polar bears, seals, and penguins that rely on stable ice for hunting and breeding. These losses ripple through food chains, affecting biodiversity across the planet. Yet, the story of glaciers is not only about loss. It is also a warning, a message from nature about the consequences of human action. In Alaska, residents have witnessed glaciers shrinking over decades. Some towns that once depended on glacier-fed rivers for water now face shortages. Indigenous communities that have lived in harmony with ice for generations are losing their way of life. Their stories remind us that climate change is deeply personal, touching lives in ways that charts and graphs cannot fully capture. The scientific community has been monitoring these changes closely. Research stations across Greenland and Antarctica collect data on temperature, ice thickness, and movement. Satellites provide a global perspective, capturing images of calving glaciers and retreating ice sheets. These observations have revealed a troubling trend. Not only are glaciers melting, but the rate of melting is accelerating. Projections indicate that if current trends continue, we may see unprecedented changes within the next 2 decades. This is a timeline far shorter than most human civilizations have experienced, raising urgent questions about preparedness and resilience. In addition to physical impacts, glacier melt has psychological effects. Seeing familiar landscapes vanish, or hearing reports of entire communities displaced, fosters anxiety and fear about the future. Young people today face the prospect of living in a world radically different from the one they were born into. The emotional weight of these changes cannot be underestimated. It motivates activism, demands policy changes, and drives innovation in renewable energy and sustainable practices. One particularly alarming development is the feedback loop created by melting ice. When glaciers shrink, dark ocean water or land is exposed, which absorbs more sunlight and heat. This accelerates warming and causes further melting, a vicious cycle. Scientists warn that this could lead to tipping points, where glacier collapse becomes unstoppable and irreversible. The consequences would be global, affecting weather, agriculture, water resources, and economies. Humanity is entering uncharted territory, and the stakes could not be higher. Despite these warnings, there is still hope. Early action can slow glacier loss and reduce the most severe consequences. International agreements, such as the Paris Climate Accord, aim to limit global temperature rise. Local initiatives, including reforestation, renewable energy adoption, and reducing carbon emissions, are critical in slowing the pace of melting. Communities that adapt infrastructure, manage water resources, and prepare for rising seas can mitigate some impacts. But the window for meaningful action is closing rapidly. Understanding glacier melt is not just a scientific exercise, it is a lesson in humility. These ancient ice giants have endured natural climate shifts for millennia. Their current rapid retreat is a stark reminder of humanity's impact on the planet. By studying glaciers, we gain insight into Earth's past and guidance for the future. Every ice core, every satellite image, every community affected is a chapter in a story that demands attention, action, and respect. As we continue our journey into the accelerating glacier crisis, we will explore how these changes connect to global systems, from ocean currents to weather patterns, and how our choices today will determine the fate of countless lives in the decades to come. The world is watching, and the clock is ticking. Have you ever wondered why some of the world's most remote regions are now sending shockwaves across the entire planet? Glaciers, the silent giants of the Arctic and Antarctica, are no longer just isolated ice masses. They are driving changes that touch every corner of the Earth. We explored how glaciers are melting at unprecedented rates and the potential global consequences. Now, it is time to dive deeper into the present situation, understand the complex systems at play, and see how this accelerated melting is already affecting humanity. The question we must ask is, how soon will these changes reach a point of no return? The Arctic is warming faster than any other region on Earth. Temperatures here have risen by more than 3 degrees C in the past 50 years, a dramatic shift compared to the global average of around 1.2 degrees C. As ice melts, vast stretches of ocean become exposed, changing local climates and disrupting ecosystems. Polar bears are struggling to find stable ice for hunting seals. Walruses, forced onto land due to thinning ice, face overcrowding and high mortality rates. Even the smallest creatures, like krill and plankton, which form the base of the Arctic food chain, are affected. Their populations fluctuate with ice coverage, creating cascading effects through the ecosystem. In Greenland, the rate of ice loss is staggering. Massive glaciers such as Jakobshavn and Helheim are retreating at rates never before recorded. Each year, billions of tons of ice enter the ocean, contributing to rising sea levels. This influx of fresh water into the Atlantic is not a simple statistic. It has the potential to disrupt the thermohaline circulation, the system of currents that regulates global climate. If these currents slow or shift, regions like Europe could experience harsher winters, while parts of Africa and Asia may face prolonged droughts. The interconnectedness of our climate becomes painfully clear. Melting ice in one part of the world can trigger storms, heat waves, and crop failures thousands of miles away. Antarctica is facing a different but equally alarming crisis. The West Antarctic ice sheet, in particular, is showing signs of instability. Research indicates that warm ocean currents are eating away at the ice from below, causing glaciers to thin faster than scientists anticipated. Unlike surface melting, which is visible and gradual, this underwater melting can destabilize ice sheets suddenly, potentially leading to rapid sea level rise. Some models suggest that if these trends continue, global sea levels could rise by more than a meter by 2040, a time frame that is terrifyingly close. Cities like New York, Shanghai, and Mumbai could face regular flooding, threatening millions of lives. The social consequences of glacier melting are already visible. In South Asia, the Himalayas feed some of the largest rivers in the world, including the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Indus. These rivers support hundreds of millions of people, providing drinking water, irrigation, and hydroelectric power. As glaciers shrink, seasonal water flow becomes unpredictable. Early melting can cause devastating floods in spring, while late-season water shortages threaten agriculture and drinking supplies in summer. Farmers face crop failures, communities struggle with water scarcity, and tensions rise as competition for resources increases. Climate change and glacier melting are also intensifying natural disasters. Coastal storms are becoming stronger and more destructive as sea levels rise. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 and Typhoon Haiyan in 2013 provided glimpses of what could become the new normal. When storms collide with higher seas, the resulting floods are far more catastrophic. Coastal infrastructure, homes, roads, hospitals, is under growing threat. Insurance costs skyrocket, economies falter, and the most vulnerable populations bear the brunt of the damage. In many cases, these communities have done nothing to cause the warming that now threatens their lives. Another hidden consequence of melting glaciers is the release of ancient greenhouse gases. As ice that has trapped carbon dioxide and methane for millennia melts, these gases are released into the atmosphere, further accelerating global warming. In Siberia, thawing permafrost is already emitting methane, a gas far more potent than carbon dioxide in trapping heat. This feedback loop is a silent amplifier of the climate crisis, one that could push the planet toward tipping points faster than anticipated. Scientists warn that the combination of ice melt, rising seas, and greenhouse gas release could create irreversible changes in global climate systems. Human migration is becoming an unavoidable reality. Low-lying islands in the Pacific, like Kiribati and Tuvalu, are already facing permanent inundation. Residents are forced to relocate, leaving behind homes, culture, and heritage. In coastal Bangladesh, millions live on land barely above sea level, vulnerable to floods and cyclones. Migration due to rising seas is expected to increase, creating climate refugees on a scale never seen before. These migrations can strain resources, increase conflicts, and challenge governments worldwide. The economic impact of glacier melt is immense. Coastal cities will require massive investments in infrastructure, from seawalls to flood defenses. Insurance companies face growing losses as properties are repeatedly damaged by floods. Agriculture will be disrupted as water availability becomes unpredictable, leading to higher food prices and instability. Fisheries, dependent on cold water currents, will collapse in some areas. The cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of preventative measures, yet global efforts to reduce carbon emissions have been slow and inconsistent. Glacier melt is also reshaping ecosystems far from the poles. Ocean currents, influenced by fresh water from melting ice, affect plankton growth, which forms the foundation of marine food chains. Fish populations migrate, impacting fishing industries in countries like Norway, Japan, and Peru. Coral reefs, sensitive to temperature and acidity changes, face further stress from altered currents. Forests and deserts, too, feel the indirect effects through changing rainfall patterns. Every ecosystem, human or natural, is intertwined in this vast chain reaction set off by disappearing ice. The emotional and cultural impact is profound. Indigenous peoples in Arctic regions have lived alongside ice for centuries, adapting to its cycles. As glaciers retreat, traditional hunting, fishing, and spiritual practices are disrupted. Communities lose not only resources, but also identity and heritage. Stories passed down through generations describe ice as sacred, a source of life. Watching it vanish brings grief, anger, and a sense of helplessness. Their voices are a crucial reminder that climate change is not just about numbers, it is about lived experiences, traditions, and the human spirit. Science provides insight, but also a stark warning. Computer models project that if global temperatures rise by 2 degrees C or more, glaciers in Greenland and West Antarctica could experience irreversible collapse. Beyond a 3 degrees C rise, much of the ice could disappear, raising seas by several meters. This scenario is no longer theoretical. Current emissions trajectories suggest that, without urgent action, we are on a path toward this very outcome. Every delay in reducing greenhouse gas emissions compounds the problem, making it more likely that we will face catastrophic consequences by 2040. Despite the alarming data, there is a powerful message in Part 2. Knowledge is power. Scientists are not just warning us. They are showing us what is possible if we act. Renewable energy technologies, carbon capture, reforestation, and sustainable agriculture all offer paths to slow down the warming and stabilize ice loss. Coastal planning and early warning systems can save lives. Communities around the world are innovating solutions to prepare for a changing climate. Yet, the question remains, will humanity act quickly enough to avoid the worst? Glacier melt, while complex and terrifying, is not inevitable in the extreme sense. The rate of melting can be slowed, and some of the impacts can be mitigated. Global cooperation, individual action, and technological innovation are critical.
Reveals our glacial past, yet this essential knowledge weighs heavily, showing us a future of calving ice.
We will explore what can be done, how communities are already adapting, and practical steps each viewer can take. It will reveal that while the story of glaciers is a warning, it is also a call to action, a challenge for us to protect our planet before it is too late. As we prepare to explore solutions and human responses, remember that the glacier's fate is tied to ours. The faster they melt, the harder it will be for humanity to adapt. But if we act decisively today, we can still write a story of hope, resilience, and survival. The next chapter will show how close we are to tipping points and what steps are necessary to steer the world away from disaster. Do you know how much time we actually have to prevent the worst consequences of glacier melting? The answer is sobering: very little. The ice sheets of Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic are in a race against time, and so are we. Of glaciers, the science behind their rapid retreat, and the devastating consequences for humans and ecosystems worldwide. Now, it is time to focus on solutions, adaptation, and what each of us can do to slow down this accelerating crisis. The question is no longer just what is happening, but what are we willing to do to stop it? The first step is understanding that glacier melting is a global issue that requires global action. No single country, region, or community can address it alone. International agreements like the Paris Climate Accord are designed to limit warming to 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees, a threshold that scientists warn is crucial to slow ice loss. Countries must reduce greenhouse gas emissions drastically, phasing out coal, oil, and gas, and shifting toward renewable energy sources like wind, solar, and hydroelectric power. Transitioning to clean energy is not just a technical challenge, it is a moral imperative, ensuring that future generations inherit a livable planet. Individual action also matters. While governments set policies, every choice we make has an impact. Simple steps, like using energy-efficient appliances, reducing car travel, consuming less meat, and minimizing waste, contribute to lowering carbon footprints. Communities can adopt sustainable practices such as rainwater harvesting, urban reforestation, and green building standards. Awareness and education are equally important. Understanding the link between local behavior and global glacier health is the first step toward meaningful change. Adaptation is another critical piece of the solution. Communities facing rising seas and melting glaciers must prepare for inevitable impacts. Coastal cities are investing in flood defenses, seawalls, and storm surge barriers. Agricultural regions dependent on glacier-fed rivers are implementing smarter irrigation techniques, drought-resistant crops, and water-sharing agreements. Early warning systems for floods, landslides, and extreme weather events can save lives. By combining mitigation with adaptation, humanity can reduce both the pace and the impact of glacier loss. Technology offers hope in combating glacier retreat. Innovative approaches, such as carbon capture and storage, can remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Renewable energy technologies are advancing rapidly, making it easier for nations to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. Even at the local scale, methods like artificial glaciers, which store winter water as ice for summer use, show promise in preserving water for agriculture and communities in mountain regions. Science and innovation, paired with political will, can shift the trajectory of glacier melting. Beyond technology and policy, cultural and societal change is essential. Indigenous communities and local populations have centuries of experience living in balance with glaciers and ice. Their knowledge of sustainable land use, seasonal patterns, and environmental stewardship offers lessons for the wider world. By listening to these communities and incorporating traditional ecological knowledge, humanity can develop solutions that are both effective and respectful of nature. Preserving glaciers is not only about water and ice, it is about honoring ecosystems, cultures, and ways of life that have coexisted with the frozen world for millennia. The psychological aspect of climate action cannot be ignored. Fear and anxiety about the future can be paralyzing, but they can also be motivating. Stories of glaciers melting, islands disappearing, and families displaced evoke strong emotions, but these stories must be paired with hope. Highlighting successful initiatives, such as cities transitioning to 100% renewable energy or countries restoring large forest areas, shows that change is possible. Narratives that combine urgency with practical action empower people to contribute rather than feel helpless. Glacier conservation is not just a matter of slowing ice melt, it is a fight for biodiversity. Polar bears, seals, penguins, and countless other species depend on stable ice. Marine ecosystems rely on freshwater input from glaciers for balanced salinity and nutrient flows. By acting to preserve glaciers, we protect habitats and maintain ecological balance. Every glacier preserved is a lifeline for multiple species and a shield against the cascading effects of climate change. Financial investment is also key. Governments, businesses, and international organizations must commit funds for both mitigation and adaptation. Infrastructure to protect vulnerable cities, research programs to monitor ice, and incentives for renewable energy adoption all require significant resources. However, these costs are far lower than the potential economic and humanitarian disasters of unchecked glacier melting. Investing today is insurance for tomorrow. Education plays a crucial role in shaping the next generation. Children and young adults must understand the science of glaciers, climate change, and sustainable living. Schools can integrate environmental science into curricula, encouraging hands-on learning and local conservation projects. By fostering a sense of responsibility and connection to nature, society ensures that climate action becomes a cultural norm, not just a policy requirement. Awareness leads to action, and action can save glaciers. Community engagement is equally important. Local initiatives, from beach cleanups to urban tree planting, may seem small, but collectively create substantial impact. Citizens can advocate for policy changes, hold leaders accountable, and promote sustainable business practices. Social media and digital platforms provide avenues for spreading awareness, sharing solutions, and inspiring collective action. Every voice matters in the global movement to protect glaciers and combat climate change. The moral imperative is clear. Glaciers are not just frozen water. They are sentinels of our planet's health. Their accelerated melting is a warning that humanity is stretching the limits of the Earth's systems. Inaction is not an option. The time to act is now, before tipping points are reached and irreversible damage occurs. By combining mitigation, adaptation, education, and innovation, we can still prevent the worst outcomes and ensure that future generations inherit a livable world. As we conclude this journey through the untold reality of glacier melting, it is essential to reflect on the choices we make daily. Will we continue to ignore warnings, or will we embrace solutions with urgency and resolve? The glaciers have survived millennia of natural change, but their current retreat is driven by human activity. Protecting them requires collective responsibility, immediate action, and unwavering commitment. Practical solutions are clear: reduce carbon emissions, transition to renewable energy, protect and restore ecosystems, invest in adaptive infrastructure, empower communities, and respect traditional ecological knowledge. Every effort counts. Each step we take to reduce emissions, conserve water, or protect habitats contributes to slowing glacier retreat and safeguarding life on Earth. Ultimately, the question is personal. What changes are you willing to make in your life to help protect our planet? How will you reduce your impact, raise awareness, and inspire action in your community? The story of glaciers is a story of urgency, hope, and human responsibility. The frozen giants are sending a message that cannot be ignored.